There has always been great discussion around whether or not the Constitution created a fair republic. Some would argue that true fairness would lie in an entirely democratic country, while others believe that the Constitution granted us all the possible fairness that can be given to a country. Because it is impossible to meet the needs and hear the voices of 315 million people, the Constitution definitely created a fair republic. The question of fairness has been around for a very long time, even during the time when the Constitution was being ratified. Federalists versus the Anti-Federalist debate, otherwise known as the Great Debate, was a conflict between the Federalists, a group of people that wanted the Constitution to fix the problems the Articles of Confederation introduced, and the Anti-Federalists, who disagreed with the Constitution's passing because it introduced even more problems. Led by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, the Federalists defended the Constitution and tried to convince the states to ratify it. The three men worked hard to ensure the community that the Constitution would be the perfect balance between liberty and power. Government, he insisted, was an expression of freedom, not its enemy. Foner 254. Hamilton's beliefs were that the checks and balances and the division of power would prevent any form of tyranny. Now, on the opposite spectrum, the Anti-Federalists, whom had a demographic that mostly consisted of farmers, disagreed with the Constitution and believed it was unfair. The Anti-Federalists believed that ratifying the Constitution would take away the power that states held and their individual liberties. James Lincoln of South Carolina said, "What is liberty? The power of governing yourselves? If you adopt this Constitution, have you this power? No." Foner 256. The Federalists wanted liberty by having a strong government so that citizens would be protected and taxes could be collected, while the Anti-Federalists wanted liberty from the government in order to protect themselves from corruption. The Constitution was eventually ratified, and even to this day, the central government has not become one of tyrannic rule, at least not quite. Ultimate fairness would exist in a place where everyone's voice is heard and taken into consideration. A nation wouldn't need a president or a Supreme Court because the people make decisions for the people. This is called true democracy. But this is just an ideology, one that is impossible to replicate in the real world. In a presidential election, each electoral vote is supposed to count towards the people of that state. And in Congress, each congressman or woman is supposed to represent his or her constituents. The people being represented are supposed to be the people of America, but even in the Constitution, it was mentioned that African American slaves would only be considered 3/5 of a vote. But the times have changed, and so has the Constitution, and even our country. So did the Constitution create a fair nation? Yes. Yes, it did.